am an Akashic record reader. I channel different levels of consciousness and deities' information. I have access to the Akashic records, which stores the data of every human experience. It might sound like it's something really, really great, but anybody can really do this with practice. I had 2 near-death experiences, which increased my ability to be able to read every human being, every animal. I also practice being a clairvoyant, clairsentient, clairaudient. I'm intuitive, and I'm also a medium. I've been like this my entire life, but after the near-death experience, it went through the roof, and it got a lot stronger. I had a breakdown publicly. I have had a YouTube channel since 2006. I've been uploading my visions and my prophecies. All of them have come true to date. You can go and watch my YouTube channel and watch 19 years worth of videos of me going through my ego deaths and going through Kundalini awakenings, accessing the information and getting the courage to finally share it. Because back when I was doing this in the beginning, there was no niche for people like me. People considered me to be weird. So I'm here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Some of y'all might already know me, but for those of you who don't, that's just a brief overview. So I just want to share something with y'all. I'm going to try to not be on here long, but every time I say that, y'all energy end up keeping me on here longer than I'm expecting, because the more open you are, the more transformational the messages that I channel become. And you may find that what I'm saying resonates with you as if I've literally been with you in your day-to-day life. That's not a strange thing, because we're all connected. There's the law of oneness. There's no separation between us. It doesn't matter your race, your ethnicity, your culture. None of that matters. If you have a soul, we are all interconnected. All right? So just wanted to get that out the way. Let me straighten this up. So as you can see in the title, you will not survive this world. 2025, you will not survive if you are only navigating with your ego. I'll begin that by saying what the ego is. The ego is the part of you that was created from the ages of womb to about 7 or 8 years old. You observe everything happening in your life, and you started to create your personality based on what was happening in your environment. So if you were a child who got ignored and your cries went unheard, nobody came to help you, you learn really quickly that crying and needing help is something that causes me to be rejected and abandoned and ignored. And so you're probably somebody who now has a hard time asking for help. So this is just one idea of different ways our ego is created. Depending on what you experience, depending on certain traumas you experience, is going to determine that. And for most people who are called to be cycle breakers, we're struggling with something called people pleasing. So this is those of us who you realize, if I don't find a way to be an asset to the people who are supposed to care for me, I'm not going to be taken care of. And that's fucking scary for a child to think that way. For those of us who grew up in the 70s and the 80s, I am a 70s baby, okay? So back then, that was the emotional dark ages. Our families didn't know anything about emotional intelligence. They didn't know anything about epigenetics, which is your environmental experiences that imprint onto your DNA in your cellular memory. Has nothing to do with the mind. You may not remember, but your body, your DNA, has recorded everything that has happened to you, and that is transferred to the spiritual cloud, which is known as the Akashic records. So with that being said, that's what the ego is. And on a metaphysical level, The ego part of you lives in your root chakra because it's all about what you needed to be to survive, who you needed to be to not be abandoned and to be taken care of. Everybody in the world is not concerned with any of these things. They do not care about any of this because they may have not been called to be a cycle breaker. But for those of us who don't want to sit back and let what happened to us continue to happen, we are wanting to change it. And by focusing on what do I need to do to heal? How can I become a better version of me? I'm uncomfortable about some things in my life and I want to change it. How am I going to change them? So if that's you, welcome. I am someone who has been dedicated to helping people to overcome these patterns and these cycles. And it's so important because we see the unaliving, self-unaliving rates are through the roof and they're going to go higher, unfortunately. As we can see, depression and anxiety is through the roof and it's going higher by the day. More young people are dying from cancer than ever before. Why is this happening? And you have to wonder, why don't some people care about any of this? And I'm gonna get into it. People who are not concerned with these things are typically background people or NPCs, which basically means they are non-player character in the stage of what's happening. They didn't come here to disrupt the system that has been keeping us in these cycles of pain and suffering, trauma, loneliness, unhealthy relationships, mental, emotional instabilities. They're not concerned with that. These are the people that go to work, they do as they're told, they don't ask questions, they don't do research, and they're not going to attract people like me into their lives because we don't have a vibrational resonance. So you can only attract what you are. And there's many different levels of this. So with that being said, the world has changed drastically and it's going to continue to change. If you are only using your ego to navigate the world, there are a couple of things that might be happening to you right now that may or may not make sense. And that is this. If you are trying to navigate the world and you're meant to be a cycle breaker, you're probably a black sheep. You're probably somebody who people misunderstands. You're probably somebody who is different from most of the people in your family because usually there is only one person per family who is called to do this work. And there's a reason for that because this work is not for the faint of heart. All right. First of all, you got to be able to ignore all the distractions to even focus on this. But the reward that you get for doing this work is you don't have to reincarnate on this planet on the same painful level you did this lifetime. So you can actually go to the next level in your next life, depending on what you do to help your soul to evolve in this journey. If you are also in service to other people and helping other people, that's going to give you higher access to higher spiritual gifts in this incarnation and future incarnations. And this is how we have gurus and people that become enlightened beings and ascended masters. So it's many levels to this game of life. Earth is a school. All right. Now, finances. If your finances are unstable, if you are making good money, but it seems like you're not really having much left over to do things with, that is a spiritual disruption because the financial system is now being decentralized. It is being torn apart to build a new system. There is karma that is attached to what we call money. So if you are called to be a cycle breaker and you're noticing changes with your finances. It could be losing a job. For some people, it's in your soul contract that you're not going to work in a career that may be harming people. And so maybe you could do it for a certain period of time, but there comes a time where you're not going to be able to do it anymore because it feels misaligned to you, which means you may start pulling your energy away from your career or your job, which may lead to less money for a period of time until you find purpose out of your experiences, identify certain things about you, such as who your spiritual parents are, what your human design is, what's in your Akashic record, what is your numerology, what is your life path number. These things, your Atmakarika, these things, that's your soul planet. They give you a navigation system to help you make decisions that are aligned not with the 3D matrix, but with the 4D, 5D matrix and beyond. It is through our decisions, our day-to-day routines, our thoughts, and the way we respond to life that creates timelines. So for those of us who are called to do this work, if you are noticing shifts and changes in your finances and career, know that it is not personal. It doesn't mean that you don't deserve more or better, because we will require resources to fulfill what we are here to do, and that is coming. However, there are certain mindsets that you must have to magnetize abundance. So if you struggle to be grateful, or if you find yourself feeling a lot of anger about what's happening in your finances, you're going to repel abundance and prosperity away from you, because you're not a vibrational match. If you were to be given more while you are in a low vibrational state, yet you are called to be an untamed, evolving soul, then that means that you will create destruction. You will destroy yourself. You may pick up habits and start spending money on things that is going to take you off of your path. And spiritual people who have soul contracts to do certain things in this lifetime are no longer being allowed to stand on the sidelines. We must choose a side. There was a point in time where we could stay in 3D and just sit there and stay there and be comfortable. We are no longer comfortable with anything that is a lower frequency than the frequency of love. Now, in your relationships, if you are noticing instability in your relationships, it is because you are breaking cycles. When you break cycles, there is a period of decay. There's a period where everything within your mind, within your vibrational frequency, within whatever traumas you experience, and whether or not you process them, that determines how your relationship dynamics are set up. If your relationship dynamics were created because you needed to learn certain lessons and karma brought you into that relationship, 9 times out of 10, those relationships were created out of a need. If you come into a relationship based on a need and not based on love and not based on the capacity to hold space for love and to grow, whether it is partnership, business, friendship, relationship, and even with your children and your parents, that relationship serves to teach you a lesson. Until you learn that lesson, you're going to be in that relationship dynamic. Once you start to learn those lessons, that relationship dynamic is going to become uncomfortable. You're going to start to notice things. You're going to start to do research and see, what does it mean when I'm afraid to be my authentic self around someone? Why am I afraid to speak my truth with this person? What does it mean if I feel nervous in my body when I'm speaking to this person, but I don't feel this with other people? What does it mean if I feel like I have to emotionally carry the weight of the relationship? What does it mean? You start searching for these things, all right? So if that is happening to you, you have a soul contract to figure out the toxic patterns within your bloodline so that you can dismantle them. But there are phases of this that you must go through. Now, I have been in a karmic relationship for 10 years with someone who I now realize was purely a karmic relationship. It was not love-based. I shifted into a twin flame relationship where I attracted someone who was a mirror to the shadow parts of myself. Those are the parts of myself that I was unaware of. Those are the parts of myself that I rejected and abandoned, and literally hypnotized myself not to be able to acknowledge about myself. So if you are in relationships, if it's karmic, you're learning that lesson. Once you learn that lesson, you will be released from that relationship. If you are in a relationship with someone where they're teaching you certain things about yourself, that has been hidden in the shadows, that relationship may feel uncomfortable, but it's challenging you to become a better version of yourself. And oftentimes the things that trigger us in people that we're in relationships with is actually pointing out a wound that needs to be healed, that has not been healed and has not been properly treated. When we do not properly treat these wounds that usually come from our childhood or during the time that we were in our mother's womb gestating, based on what she was experiencing, because we're carried in water. Water holds memory. So whatever your mother went through, it affected you before you came into this world. This is the first phase of the development of the ego. Now, if that is the case, in that relationship, you must confront your biggest fears. If you are afraid to be vulnerable, you must confront that and practice being vulnerable. If you walk on eggshells because you grew up in an emotionally unstable home, then you must learn how to practice not walking on eggshells without being afraid of what's going to happen if you do that. If you grew up and you were not allowed to have boundaries, your challenge is to create boundaries and actually enforce them. And though these are simple sentences, these things are extremely difficult to do in the simulation that we call life. All right? So those are some of the points about relationships. Now, the reason that I said you will not survive using the ego, because the ego is simply a navigation system for the 3D world. The 3D world is constructed of beliefs and values that were created by people who felt they were supreme to the masses, and they created systems of oppression. Whether it is indoctrination through schools, indoctrination through religion, indoctrination through advertisements, indoctrination through Hollywood, indoctrination through music, which programmed the subconscious mind, where we were not consciously aware of what we were being programmed to believe and do. These things are being dismantled right now. So if you are called to be a cycle breaker, this is probably resonating with you. And I do see a lot of likes popping up. So thank you for that and letting me know that this is resonating with you. And I want you to notice something. I want you to notice that when I first got on here, it was a whole lot of people on here. Now it's not that many. I want you to notice that, because that lets you know how special and unique you are. It don't matter what's happening in your life, what's happening around you, what you're dealing with. You are special, you are unique, and you have been divinely called for this purpose. And you are not watching this video by chance, because there is no such thing as coincidences to a spiritually evolving soul. Everything is by divine appointment in our lives, even the negative things that happen. And they're meant to be used as catalysts for our transformation. But due to the 3D matrix programming, trying to use your ego to accomplish things you used to accomplish will no longer work for you if you are called to be an evolving soul in this lifetime. And I know that that is uncomfortable, because I have went through several what we call ego deaths, and it just basically means that what you're used to doing and using and thinking, behaving, believing, speaking, responding to will no longer bring you results. And this can be very confusing when this starts to happen to you. The 3D matrix is an illusion. It's a simulation created by the collective beliefs. So, if you believed that how valuable you were was based on the amount of material things you are able to gain, that belief means that you're going to always be in a position of being disempowered, and something outside of you will always have power over your day-to-day behavior, your thoughts, your mood, and that affects your decisions, and those decisions individually create what we experience as the world. Remember, I said we're all connected. So for a lot of us, that's happening right now as well. As the ego starts to go through this process of actually its regeneration, because the ego can become an enlightened ego and actually assist you in your spiritual journey. As this is happening, we may find ourselves more easily triggered. We may find ourselves feeling defensive. If we have been pushing anger down because we grew up in a home with angry people and we learn very quickly that that is something we don't want to be, well, you're probably one of the most angry people there is right now because it's suppressed inside of you and it needs to come out. And unless you are intentionally doing the work to connect with these parts of you and bring this out, it's going to come out in your dynamics with your relationships. We all reenact our traumas until we no longer need to learn that lesson. Once you learn the lesson, you don't need to reenact the trauma anymore. Now, am I saying that people who have stable, healthy relationships and may have financial security aren't spiritual? Absolutely not. But what I am noticing is that the people who are called to this next wave of healing on this planet may be going through these things right now. All right. The next point about the ego is that when you use the ego to navigate the world, you attract people, places, and things that's not going to have the frequency of love that your higher divine self knows that you deserve. So you're going to often feel disappointed in people, disappointed in yourself, and disappointed in things. This does not mean you are a bad person, because that's not even a thing. There's no such thing as good and bad. That is called duality. And that's a 3D matrix program to keep us in a position of being judgmental excessively of one another. It's not healthy feedback. It's pure judgment. It is pure condemnation. We do it to ourselves and we do it to each other. So if you ever struggle with feeling like you're being judgmental of yourself, that's the ego trying to keep you safe based on the world's standards, telling you what to do and what not to do, what's safe and what's not safe. It's not personal. All right. This is just the ego doing what it learned to do as a child. How did you think when you were 1 to 7 years old? How did you make sense of things? If your parents were arguing, you probably assumed they were arguing because of you. And you felt like you maybe needed to fix it, or you needed to be invisible so that you did not make things worse. And so you grew up fast. You're a parentified child. You learn how to take care of yourself. So I won't be a stress or burden on my caregivers because they seem to be stressed out. They seem to be angry. And so we learn to hide these things within ourselves, but it doesn't mean it's not there. And it definitely does not mean it doesn't need to come to the surface so that we can heal it. Because when you have been cut deep down in your innermost being, you will be afraid to be your authentic self because you really don't know who the fuck your authentic self really is. Because the mask that you had to wear, the avatars that you had to create to navigate this world is what kept you safe. And after you do it for a certain period of time, you no longer remember who you really are. And that's the you when you was running around in Pampers. That's who you are. Right? Before you got all of this conditioning and all of this programming, that's who you are. Which means 9 times out of 10, We are in relationships, partnerships, and careers where it is not based on who we are. So there isn't an authentic frequency present that's creating the bond, which means that that cord that energetically ties us is unhealthy. That cord is the one that's being played when portals are being opened. It pulls on the heartstrings of mankind. It makes it difficult for mankind to be at peace with their own mind. And most of our suffering comes from our own mind. It comes from the way we interpret things that are happening to us. It comes from the way we interpret things that is coming through other people. So most suffering happens through the mind. All right? Now, the heart, on the other hand, if the heart has been cut open, the heart is a regenerative organ. It will always be able to regenerate itself. The heart is the phoenix that rises from the ashes. The heart is meant to be light as a feather, like a bird. This is depicted in ancient Kemet and many other Quetzalcoatl, many other indigenous peoples all across this planet depicted this. If the heart is heavy, because maybe like me, you're empathic and you don't like to see people that you care about suffer. And what happens is you will absorb the burden. You will absorb the pain. And you will feel like you're helping them by absorbing that and taking some of that stress off of them. And it's usually unconscious. Unless you are trained in Reiki, you're doing this unconsciously. Whenever you're uncomfortable, when somebody else is uncomfortable, and you will try to fix and repair whatever is happening, hoping that they can feel better so you can feel better. That's codependency, which means you are basing the value of who you are on the state of mind of people that is in your life and around you. And this is a very dangerous thing at this time, because there are energies being summoned to this planet to embed themselves in the mind. And some of the thoughts that we hear isn't us. It isn't any part of us. It's really a frequency that's transmitting a broadcast of desperation, of fear, of pain, of loneliness, of feeling like things can never change, just an emptiness, a numbness, a lack of hope, a feeling of why am I even getting up out of the bed today, because it's just another monotonous day of the same old shit and I'm tired of it. And so when you go through a spiritual awakening, when you're called to be a cycle breaker and you have an ego death, it's not really a death. The ego is just challenged until it finally gives up to allow your spiritual mind to lead you. This is the battle, all right? So when it comes to the heart has its own language. Let me tell you how the heart speaks. It speaks through your emotions. But the mind can be an instigator and misinterpret those emotions, so you don't get the benefit of living from your heart. And a lot of us, we're in Aquarius energy, that's mental energy. A lot of us get lost in our mind. We feel in our heart what's best for us, but the mind says, well, that's going to upset some people. Well, that's going to put you in a position you're going to have less money. Well, that's going to put you in a position where you're going to end up not really enjoying this party because you decided to do a detox and you can't eat 99% of what they're eating, but you're still going to this party. And maybe it's somebody at that party who needed to have an interaction with you so that they would be inspired to do a detox. But if you let the mind talk you out of it, you don't go, and this person doesn't do the detox, and it's kind of like a butterfly effect. There are many other things that this person might experience and go through that they weren't going to go through had you went to the party and inspired them. That is just one example of the difference between your mind and the language of the heart. So in ancient Kemet, they used these scales of Libra to determine how heavy the heart was. And this is ruled over by a goddess called Maat, M-A-A-T. And Maat, who is one of the... We all have percentages of these deities within us. Okay, so they didn't go away, but they're experiencing this human experience in infinite fragments within us now. And you can nurture certain aspects of yourself to be the representation of that deity in physical form in the 3D world, which is what we're here to do. And that allows you to tap into consciousness that is higher than your consciousness and has already come to earth, went through the schools, and ascended to a new level. All right. So with the energy of Maat, when the heart is heavy, you have to go into the underworld. So Pluto is one of the underworld governors. All right. The underworld is not a punishment per se. It's a place where you gather certain experiences so that you can ease up the weight of the heart. Has anybody here felt like you had a heavy heart? You know what that feels like, right? It is an undeniable feeling. Now I'm going to give you some really great news. If you have ever felt that, it is purgatory. Exactly. If you have ever felt that, you were being challenged and given an opportunity to do things you don't normally do to change the outcome so that the heart is light as a feather. When people have a heart that's light as a feather, you'll know, because there's a sense of calm that you feel when you interact with them. And this can be in physical reality and online. I don't come before you all when my heart is heavy unless I'm coming to share my heart for the purpose of teaching something, right? Because so many spiritual teachers now have this image of perfection and they have mastered it all and there's nothing left to learn, and I'm teaching you. So sometimes I do share vulnerable stories about my weaknesses and my shadows and things that I'm working on for that purpose, because I don't want people to follow me. I want people to take the information that I give, use it so that you step into the higher I divine version of yourself. All right. So you all resonate with this. So when I had my first near-death experience, I experienced hell. And this hell had 9 different levels, which I now believe to be 9 different dimensions. And within each dimension, there was something that was tormenting that each individual would experience over and over again without being able to ever see an ending come to that. If you have ever went through anything in your life that happened over and over again, and you struggle to see that it can change or be healed, you're having in your physical body what would be considered a hell-like experience, because you do not see an end to whatever it is that you're perceiving. Now, this is something that really changed my life, being able to understand, because I was a Christian for a long time and I was reading the Bible as if it wasn't astrotheology, though it is. Once I learned astrotheology, I was able to read the Bible from a esoteric level, meaning the hidden knowledge that is within this Bible. All right. So that's one of the things. Now, what do you do when you're in a hell level consciousness within the simulation? So because I'm an oracle, bending the spoons is representation of bending situations and realities that seem to be immovable, right? So I'm just going to give this because, I'm being told to give this to y'all. And this is something that I would usually have a webinar class for and charge for, but I'm giving this to y'all for free tonight because this is what I'm being guided to do. So I hope that you appreciate this and handle this information with grace and honor and love. But if you're in that space and we go in and out of these dimensions of consciousness, I haven't met anybody who is experiencing a heaven level of consciousness every day, all day long, and it's been like that for a long time. I don't know anybody on the planet right now. They wouldn't be here if they were meant to experience that. They would be in a higher dimension. All right. But you come in and out. All right. So when you're in that space, the key to unlocking the dimension of hell where you do not see an end of whatever you're experiencing that is causing you pain is to rebel against the program and perceive the opposite. Literally self-hypnotize yourself. Reprogram your subconscious mind one moment at a time, one thought at a time, one word at a time, one decision at a time, one response to what happens in life at a time. By doing each of those things one at a time, they build up like bricks. Okay, or shall I say a ladder. And each time you do that, on a neurological level, which is proof of everything that I'm saying spiritually, each time you do that, neurologically, you grow a new pathway in your brain that does not follow the same train of thought the previous one did. So by shifting your perspective, rebelling against that program in the computer program of simulated reality, all right? So you start to say, you know what? I can't see an end to this, but it don't mean that it's not going to change. You start to realize the illusion is not on your side and it's here to test you and challenge you. It's like beating a level in a video game. So you have to start to say, literally, this happened to me. I couldn't walk for a couple of months without excruciating pain that was so bad to where I had to be on a PCA pump getting pain medicine 24/7 around the clock because my heart rate would go really high and my blood pressure would drop really, really low or go high because of the amount of pain that I was in. While that was happening to me, it literally felt like somebody was breaking my bones with a sledgehammer. Can you imagine feeling that all day, every day for months? That entire time that I was going through that, I continued to say, I will not be this way forever. Day 20. I am not going to be this way forever. Day 35. I am not going to be this way forever. Day 44. I am not going to be this way forever. But everything in my reality, including the lab work, the MRIs, was saying that I was going to be in that pain forever. And in order for me to survive that, I had to rebel against my medical records. Meaning, I see what it says. You can treat this physically, and I know how to treat it spiritually. And so I started to take my perception, remove the filter that's created by fear, our beliefs, whatever our family feared, whatever was passed down in our bloodline. That's what creates the filter in which we believe things. I had to find a new filter to use. And I felt like I was losing my mind. It made no sense. I would be screaming and crying and saying, I'm not going to be this way forever. It made no sense. And it felt like it was voices all around me saying, yes, you are going to be this way forever. This pain will never go away. You will never be able to get out of the hospital. You will never be able to walk again. You will never be able to enjoy your life with your children. You will never be able to do yoga again because I couldn't bend my knees. Now, I have something called bone death in both knees and both hips. It is an extremely painful condition. And there are things that I do every single day in the physical to take care of myself. But you also have to approach the mental plane. You can't leave one of these out. Once you approach it mentally, and you're going to have to continue to do it because the negative thoughts are going to continue to come back, especially if you have parasites. Parasites have their own consciousness. They have their own voice. That's the reason why you're trying to do better. You know how bad sugar is for you, but you will crave it so strongly that you will eventually give in. Well, those are the demons represented in hell that torment the souls that are there. And so you end up doing something that is bringing harm to you, but you're craving harm. You're craving what's hurting you. What type of relationships do you think you're going to attract? What type of experiences do you think you're going to attract? If you crave something that you know is toxic and will hurt you, and you don't have the discipline to turn it down and stay away from it, you are living in your lower mind. You are living in your lower chakras. You are being dominated, oppressed, and controlled by these parasitic energies that need us to exist. So if that's happening to you, treating the physical, treating the mental, and the next step to really start changing your life is to treat it spiritually. If you leave that part out and you're called to be a cycle breaker, you're going to feel an emptiness in you no matter what you do. And the things that you used to enjoy will no longer feel as enjoyable to you anymore. Because the universe is going to say, okay, we're not going to allow you to feel as good as you used to when you went to the club or went to church or went and hung out with this person or went to a family gathering. You're not going to feel enjoyment anymore and get pleasure anymore from drinking. It's just not going to work for you anymore. You're not going to get pleasure anymore from being narcissistic because you know that it works. You're not going to get pleasure anymore for using your anger to control people because that's the only way you ever learn to get your way, because it's what you grew up watching someone else do as a kid. So the ego runs on a program. The ego does not care about morality. The ego does not care about authenticity. The ego's job is not to care about whether or not you're being sincere. The ego's job is to help you survive. The ego is a beast. All right? It's not the enemy, but it is very primal and very beast-minded. Anything you have ever heard about Satan represents the lower mind. It represents the lower realm, the lower emotions, the lower ways that humans can behave that create harm. And this is what they want us to be doing to ourselves and each other. So, spiritually, the first thing would be practicing self-care. Because the way that you treat your temple that you live in is going to determine what you attract. All right? You're not going to be able to attract anything of a higher frequency than the mirror of your daily routines to take care of your mind, your body, and your soul. The next thing that you can do, and you probably think I'm going to tell you to meditate, but I'm clearly being told not to tell you that because most of the people who's going to watch this video probably have already tried meditation. And most of us here who have shitloads of trauma that we agreed to in our Akashic record to come here as a soul to experience probably have a really hard time having a calm mind and a calm nervous system. So sitting still, trying to meditate is probably something that is difficult. It does not yield results, which frustrates you because every podcast that you watch and book that you read is telling you to meditate. So I'm going to tell you, I found what worked for me. Sound meditation is what works for me. Music has always been therapy for me. Even though what I have been saying for the last 15 years, the reason so much trauma happens in the lives of people who are given record deals is to keep the system of trauma going. Sound holds memory. Sound creates a frequency that creates your vibration, which is the resonance of your energy. It's the oral. This is the reason why somebody can walk up behind you. I know which kid is standing behind me. Out of all my kids, before I turn around, I know who it is because I can feel their vibrational frequency. All right. So, what for so many of us, we're trying to meditate a way that's really not useful for us. Find what worked for you. By me using sound, I'm rebelling against the program. I'm going to take what was used to program me to think that I wanted to be with a man who had a mouthful of gold teeth, a whole bunch of cars with rims on it, big gold chains, who behaved like a man-child. That's what I thought. And once I realized that I had been programmed to think that I was attracted to that kind of man, I started rebelling against the program. And I attracted someone who is nothing like that into my reality. So I am proof of everything that I teach. And anybody who knows me on a personal level will tell you. All right. So I'm not doing anything for clout. And it ain't no reason for me to be capping on here to y'all about anything because my soul mission is so much more important than 3D shit that we go into. So find the meditation that works for you. Washing dishes is a great way to meditate. Your hands are very powerful. There are chakras in both palms of the hands. That's the energy vortex. This is why when people do healing work, they send the energy to you through the hands. So hands are always moving energy. The left hand is the feminine side. It receives frequencies and energy. And the right hand is the masculine side that gives out the broadcast of that energy. If you are unconscious much of the day and you're empathic, you're absorbing things that you're touching at the store, all of these things. This is why I sell Sage and Palo Santo on my website, because spiritual hygiene is more important than physical hygiene. And a lot of us got our physical hygiene game down pat. If you don't, I can give you some products that I use as well. I talk about all of this on my website and my course, Turn Pain into Purpose. But using high frequency products, that's great. But if you are not using spiritual hygiene, you're walking around with energy attached to you that ain't even yours. And then you wonder why you feel bad. Or you wonder why you're having certain thoughts. Or you wonder why you didn't get that job. Or you wonder why that deal didn't fall through for you. You know, that these things happen because that's so spiritual hygiene, psychic protection, spiritual protection, the most important thing for spiritual souls to be doing. Now notice, in all of the things that I named for you, I went through the mind, I went through the body, I went through the soul. All right, we went through all three. I went through the mental, emotional, I went through the physical, and I discussed financial and relationships as well. It took me a lot of years and thousands of hours doing one-on-ones, working in my Sacred Sister Circle, my mentorship program, that I was able to learn these things. This is not being taught in any school. And what makes this so valuable is that I didn't create this information off of guessing or reading someone else's book, but I gathered this information from the soul contracts of thousands of people. And I found the common denominator, the things that were creating the most amount of pain and suffering for them across many generations, contacted some of their ancestors, got information from the ancestors about this. And people got some funny ancestors, let me tell you. Everybody's ancestors don't show up the same. All right. Like that's a video I could do another time and share with you some of the experiences I had with people with their ancestors. But by doing that, and through my own life experience, and for the fact that I've died flatlined twice and went to heaven and hell, stayed there for a long enough time for me to create videos on my YouTube channel, the one that got shadow banned. I have a new channel now, but you can find me with the link in the bio once this is over. But after those experiences, I was able to take what I was giving my clients and my one-on-ones and my group coaching, and I put most of that into this course. And I fixed it where you won't get bored. You're going to actually probably be amused, because if shadow work is just hard and stressful, people who are already stressed out not going to want to do that shit. You don't want nothing to make you feel worse. You don't want to leave feeling less confident, because all of your shadow stuff, you know how to get access to it now and learn it and find it out. But after you find it out, your level of self-love and your level of being able to forgive yourself and be compassionate is going to determine what it creates in your life. And so if you're just doing shadow work and working on yourself and learning all these things about yourself and discovering things about yourself that is connected to your wounds and your fears and your fear of opening up and asking for help, and your fear of vulnerability, and your fear you're not able to trust people, you have a hard time trusting people, all of those different things, what happens is, if you are doing the work but it's always uncomfortable and you never see a positive reflection in your reality, you won't do it. You will buy a course and won't even do it. I have done this many times. And after I spent thousands of dollars on other people's courses, I said to myself, this work is too important for us not to have it in a way that's digestible for us. And so what I did was, I took everything that I learned in my daily routines and I fixed it where it only take you 30 minutes. Tops. Just 30 minutes. You literally could just put it on. Because if you like me, I'm ADHD. Okay? It is really hard sometimes to get myself to focus on one thing. Even if I know it's going to help me, it's hard. I'm a multitasker. My mind moves 1,000,000 miles per second. Like, really. So telling me to sit down and do a course, that sounds like torture from all the years that I had to go to school times 1,000,000. And I'm not going to want to do it. And if the ego is kicking and screaming about some shit it don't want to do, and your inner child still got wounds from that period of time, you're going to be trying to do something, but you got a lot of resistance. And y'all already know how a screaming toddler falling out in the store creates resistance. Right? You can't drag that part of you into that. It's just going to keep you in a state of inner conflict with yourself. Right? So after I noticed the issues, I contacted all of the people. You can go to the website and read the reviews and read the comments on I got 13,000, I think, subs. It's been stuck there for about 4 years now. How strange is that? But read the comments and just see how the information that I teach has impacted people's lives. But what happened was I was spending money and I was either bored or I couldn't focus. So I figured out a way to make it where I was actually going to want to do it. So instead of doom scrolling, it's so easy to do, and it ain't no judgment. You can say, you know what? I'm kind of bored, and I got 15 minutes to burn. I got 20 minutes to burn. I'm just gonna go ahead and log into the course. You're rebelling against the 3D matrix. You're rebelling against the ego, but in a way where the ego's not gonna be so pissed, it's gonna make it hard for you to do it. So by doing that, being like, it's not a big deal. I'm just gonna do this right now. The ego is gonna be like, okay, cool. He said ain't no big deal. Remember, this is the kid version of you. It's kind of a lot easier to trick kids than somebody who's been on the planet decades. So you're just like, not a big deal. We're just gonna do this. And just be unattached to the outcome. And you will see for yourself how things start happening different. Most of the people in the course right now said the very next day, stuff started happening different. And I knew that it was going to have this effect on people, which is why it took me a couple of years to complete it. And I'm not even sure it's complete because I just added a whole new lesson in there called the Trigger Challenge. Y'all, look, I might sound enlightened right now, but let me tell you, I get triggered as fuck. It'd be so bad. And because I know I'm a white galactic wizard in Mayan astrology, based on the frequency that my soul broadcasts, I'm a white galactic wizard. So when I am pissed off, I know how harmful my words can be to people. And see, when somebody is truly a powerful person, they don't just go around showing their teeth to people. They don't lose their temper too often. Okay? All right, y'all, I got 5 more minutes. Hold on. Okay. So I learned ways to soothe myself without repressing the anger. Like, if you already know how to do that, then you can click off of this. Ain't nothing I'm saying go even help you. But how do you be angry, not suppress it and push it down, ignore it and act like it ain't there, but actually take that anger energy, because that's fire energy, right? You can literally spit that shit out your mouth and your words if you know how to form them correctly. And you can turn that fire energy. This is when you tap into that dragon primal essence and start learning how to use the primal essence to benefit you and to be in service. Because whenever you're in service to you, you're in service to the world. Whenever you're doing something that's beneficial for you, you're doing something that's beneficial for the world. All right. And so when I started doing that more often, I was just like, this shit is the trigger challenge. Now the ego is like, oh, hell yeah, we doing that. The ego is excited about the trigger challenge. I mean, just the name of it alone make you want to do it. The ego want to see, can I do this? The ego loves to be challenged in a way where it feels like a game. So I was like, I'm going to create a trigger challenge, right? And so I studied my triggers. I studied the triggers of my clients. I studied the triggers of my partner, the triggers of my kids. And I created a workbook where you got all of the lists of the triggers and then all of the reasons those triggers exist in your life, like what happened to you that created that as a trigger for you. And I'm just give y'all an example really quick. One of them would be like lying. Anybody here like hate for people to lie? Like it's a feeling that you really can't explain. I hate when people lie. Have anybody here ever said that? Yeah. You literally feel like people are belittling you by lying to you. I mean, it's like a capital offense. It's like, and I took that trigger and I was like, why do I hate this so much? And I did the shadow work around it, which I teach y'all in the course. What I realized was I had to lie sometimes to get food because growing up, we didn't always have enough food, right? I had to lie about a whole lot of things just to get my first apartment. You know, having co-signers and all of that stuff. I lied to survive because I grew up in the underworld. All right. I grew up in the streets of Memphis, Tennessee. Like, that's underworld energy. Okay. And in order for me to be able to survive that, I had to learn how to lie. Because of that, because I hated that so much, because that was the opposite of who I felt I was, I learned to hate the frequency of lying. And my ego interpreted that as, oh, so you hate people that lie. But no, I don't hate people. I hate the frequency of lying. And so I took that trigger and I broke that down for you. All right. If y'all giving gifts or whatever y'all do, like I just signed up for the TikTok program or something, like it's extra shit you would get for giving gifts and stuff. So just letting y'all know, like, yeah, you could join and be a part of my tribe on here too. And I do these lives when I'm inspired to, so I can make sure what you getting is fucking rocket fuel to blast up out of this 3D shit. Because this shit is going down. It's going down real fast. So with that being said, in the trigger challenge, I'm gonna help you to see how you can take the triggers and make it where it's benefiting you. So if somebody keep pissing you off and you can't find no purpose in getting pissed off, it ain't benefiting you. And when you trigger, you go into fight or flight. Your nervous system goes into, it's a fucking bear and I need to survive. And so there are symptoms that you will have, like a hard time sleeping, a hard time thinking straight, brain fog. You might have tension in your neck and your shoulders, low back pain. All of this stuff will be happening because each time you get triggered, you don't know how to discharge that energy back up off of you, because everything is energy. So this shit is just sitting on you and sitting in your auric field, right? So now this person that pisses you off, they like your enemy. And it's probably somebody you genuinely love. Now, it's a whole other side to why we dealing with that. And I break that down to you and explain to you the invisible radio station that's being transmitted through the technology we're using that cause us to be instigated into feeling emotions that are more intense than they really deserve to be. And I'm not saying that people don't do messed up shit, because we all do. None of us are perfect. But you know when the level of anger that you feel don't match the situation. And it happens to me. And because I know I'm a wizard, I don't want to mismanage my spiritual powers in that way to hurt people that I love. Because when you do, you create a ripple. You create a cause and an effect. That seed is going to grow something, right? So if you can learn how to process triggers in the moment, the person that pisses you off often becomes the person that's helping you pass the damn class, because they giving you a test. However many times they get on your damn nerves, they giving you a test. And you got the opportunity to be like, yeah, I'm bad as a mother. Ooh, I really do not appreciate what they just did. I don't even know why they're talking to me like that in that tone. I sure don't. This is me journaling. I have journals that I sell on my website. You're going to want a journal when you have some special shit in your hands, you know, like when you got some special engraved leather and beautiful crystals on the outside and a lock and parchment paper. It's just sometimes you got to trick the ego. So I got these nice ass journals that you can use where it ain't gonna sit and collect dust. You're gonna want to use it. It's just sitting there looking too damn awesome to not use it. The journal will be like, psst, psst, You know you need to come over here and write. So these are all the things that I took my time and curated so people wouldn't get bored and people would be able to do the work and actually get some transformation in their life without having to unalive yourself trying to do it. But in that moment, you're getting it out. You're discharging the energy, right? Now you can see that person as someone you attracted because there was a wound inside of you that had not been healed. And as long as you felt comfortable, you weren't going to even look in that place. So now this person, though they piss you off, you start to be grateful for it. You start to be like, I'm grateful for that. Like I learned something about myself. I thought I was be grateful for it. You start to be like, I'm grateful for that. Like I learned something about myself. I thought I was over. And I realized I still got some daddy issues. So let me work on that. Then I'm not going to attract another relationship or another partnership or another career with a boss who act like this or whatever I'm dealing with. Like you get it. And when you can find gratitude for the people that hurt you and that trigger you, all of a sudden you got power to control you. And now you don't really even give a fuck about what people be doing. You don't even really care. It's just like, okay, I'm emotionally detached from this. It is what it is. That hurt it. It did. I shall work through it. And I would take this fucking pain and turn it into some purpose. Make some beautiful shit out of it. And cook that shit up real quick. All right, I got this. And each time you do that, the universe says, oh, this person is ready to go up to the next level on the ladder, on Jacob's ladder. This person is ready to go into the next level of their ascension journey. And all of this is recorded in our spinal cord, right? That's Jacob's ladder. All right. The throne room is the mind, but the lower part of the throne room is the heart. And this is the pathway to all the spiritual experiences you probably be wanting to experience yourself. You can create those experiences. So, yes, so the trigger challenge just got added in there. And I'm thinking about adding one more thing, but that'll be a surprise. I send out emails, 2 to 3 emails a week. I give you tips. I give you a lot of free information, things that you can do. I upload videos for you to just keep you on your journey. And in those emails, I give out all types of stuff and sales and just, it's a lot. It's a lot of great stuff. So that sounds like something you're interested in, sign up for my newsletter. And straight out the gate, I'm going to be giving you a free ebook on harnessing the power of your third eye, of your sixth sense, which is the third eye chakra. It was so many things that I wish I would have learned and would have known. I thought I was ready to keep opening as different levels of opening your third eye. But when I started to see myself in a way that I didn't expect, when you see yourself under a microscope, you know how you looking in the mirror and you think you look like hot shit, and then you turn it around to the magnified side and you be like, dang, I ain't even see that. Well, when you open your third eye, which is your intuitive sense, that's what happens. And it's usually emotional things, financial things, things in your life, and it just don't look good. It look ugly. And you all of a sudden you're seeing ugly in places where you ain't even noticed it before. And so when you do that, and it's happening to us because of the solar flares and a couple of other things that I talk about on my Patreon. Patreon is where the banned content is. So if you're that kind of sacred rebel, kind of spiritual awakening person, you definitely want to go to Patreon. There's some truth on there that cannot be shared anywhere else. And so when my videos get removed, yes, you can get them in the vault. All right. And it's got 400 plus posts from me. And not just from me, but experts and people that I highly respect who give you the answers to why some shit is happening that you don't know what is happening. Yeah, that's on my Patreon. All of those links are in my bio. So I hope that I share some tips with y'all that y'all can use. I know some of y'all was late getting on here. What I'll probably do is re-upload this to my YouTube channel. Some of these conversations I only re-upload to Patreon because guidelines, you know. So I don't get paid for this. I'm just doing this to be of help. If you want to give a donation, you can send that donation to Campson44. That's my name, and then 44. Or Remnants Gathering. For those of you who've been new us for 9+ years, we've been doing this. Me and my partner, you can cash up me there to Remnants Gathering as well. And you want to give if this touched you, and let's just say you're not interested in getting the course. Or maybe you like, okay, that'll be a real good New Year's resolution, and hopefully that'll help me keep that resolution. So I'm going to get this course later. Let's just say you want to do that. Or let's just say you just want to get the free ebook and get my newsletter. Well, by doing that, or giving a donation, or subscribing, or just liking this, or sharing me with somebody else, what you're saying is, universe, this is the kind of energy that I like to receive. This is what I like to receive. And by doing that, and then you giving and sharing and sending it back out. Remember I talked about the hands and how energy moves? By doing that, you change the frequency that's within your reality, which can shift you to a different timeline. So some of the disasters and things that are happening on the planet, you're not going to be aligned to experience them. You may witness them, but you will not experience them firsthand, because you're letting the universe know by what you give your attention to, what you give your energy to, and what you give your money to, what's aligned with you. And that's just one of the secrets on how to manifest the reality that you want. So if it's something you don't want in your life, stop giving attention to it, stop giving energy to it, and stop giving your money to it. And so those are 3 things that you can do to basically change whatever is happening in your life and in your reality. So if this resonates, do that. If you want to join, you can do that right up there as well. I just restarted my new YouTube channel, so it's growing. So make sure you subscribe. And all of the links is in the description, Patreon, the website, and both of my YouTube channels. And you can just binge watch and catch up on some stuff. And like I said, for you sacred rebels who like to go into rabbit holes, I got you. I'm like really taking you into different parts of the simulation. And I've been predicting things again since 2006. And even as a Christian, my predictions were still accurate. So you can only imagine what you be getting over there. And it's only like $1. So, you could choose the lowest tier and give that donation. But whatever you choose. But my prices are reasonable. They won't be like this forever, y'all. I'm holding this for a little while because I know there's some warriors out here who are ready to get their tools and get it popping. I'm like, let's get it popping. If you're going to be going through shit, you might as well go through it and get something out of it. Like, turn your pain into purpose. Don't let your pain use you. Use your pain. Learn to be a callous. Use your triggers. And people that trigger you, they ain't going to want to trigger you no more, because you ain't going to be no fun no more. You're not giving them the energy that they need. You're letting the universe know. I'm not making an investment in the bank of being triggered. No, not doing it. And then you will stop attracting those types of situations into your life. It's so simple how to create our own reality that a lot of us miss it because we're overanalyzing and we're complicating something that doesn't have to be complicated. And that was another issue I had with other courses. I was like, people making this too complicated. Like, can we just simplify this? I'm already trying to heal from trauma and be a generational curse breaker and release stress. Like, I'm feeling stressed out. I can't do no rituals that's gonna take me 3 days to heal my abandonment wounds. Like, I ain't got time for that. And time moving too fast for all of that. So it's just like, look, give me exactly what I need to do what I need to do. And I would like for it to be enjoyable, fun, illuminating, and have me feeling confident when I step back out in light. And let me tell y'all the last thing before I get off here, though. The beautiful thing about this entire thing is that you get 7 days free. You ain't even got to pay for it for an entire week. And you can be in there learning. That's how serious I am about people being able to get these tools. Because I'm telling y'all, when people start unraveling, like what we saw happen with Jamie Foxx, that's the conversation that I'm going to pick back up on. I already did the first decoding on that. But that is a representation. He experienced his personal hell. And what you do while you're there determines what type of frequency you're going to be in, which determines what type of timeline that you're going to experience the events of Earth within. All right. So, but the dope part about the course that I created is that I give you physical tools that you can order for like 50% off. You ain't got to go shopping a whole bunch of places. You ain't got to go to Etsy. You ain't got to go to eBay, Amazon, hell, Walmart selling spiritual shit. You know when you walk in Walmart and they selling crystals and sage, that something is popping off in the world. Even they got the message. All right. So when you got the physical stuff and you ain't got to go look for it, you ain't got to be stressed out about where to get this and order this, and then you paying the taxes over here on this platform. Because that's what I was doing. I was getting crystals. I was getting my sage, my Palo Santo, getting my candles. I was ordering all my stuff. And I was just like, I'm paying taxes and fees. Like it was stressful. And I was like, no, I'm not doing this. So I opened a business and I said, I'm going to open my own spiritual shop. I'm going to put everything right here. And matter of fact, not only would I be able to get individual items, but I'm just going to create bundles for them. And you just order the bundle. And you get the course, order the bundle. And if you start getting to the point where you slacking off, you got your crystals, that labradorite palm stone. I should have my labradorite with me. But that labradorite palm stone will have your intuition like really, really strong. Just that one thing alone. And then I have an obsidian crystal. That's going to be absorbing the negative energy while you sleep. You put it up under your pillow or up under your bed because you don't want to, well, you might want to break it at some point, but I don't want to break mine. I've had that happen once, and it's because it had absorbed all the negative energy that it needed to absorb, and it was time for me to progress to the next stage. But I don't teach spiritual bypassing, and just for you to have this shit because it looked pretty. No, I want you to use it. And so when you got the tools, if you're not doing the signing into your course and doing the work, because it's self-paced, I'm not going to make you do it at no certain rate. I'm going to give everybody at least up to 3 to 6 months to do their lesson. So you got plenty of time because I don't want you stressed out, right? My whole purpose is to relieve stress. But when you got the tools, when you coming home and you burning your Palo Santo, or you coming home and you writing in your journal, you know, you're going to log back into the course. Because you, first of all, you like, no, I want to see what's next. Because if I have been able to do this, then I might be able to accomplish something else. And that makes you feel more confident. Because you're like, I do got discipline. I thought I was lazy. I thought that I was just a procrastinator. No, you probably got the same issues I got. You probably got trauma, complex post-traumatic stress syndrome from traumas that happen over an extended period of time. That changes your brain. Your amygdala don't even process fear properly. It like there's proof that this actually changes the structure of our brain. You're probably dealing with that. You probably be in fight or flight. You probably be in freeze response. And that's why we doom scroll. Because you just laying there and you really can't move. You just like the Walking Dead and you just scrolling. You ain't got no energy to do nothing else. Why does that happen to us? It don't happen to us because we lazy. It don't happen to us because it's just impossible for us to do better. No, this is a spiritual warfare. This is all about spiritual warfare. So you're not going to be changing the world and you don't feel like moving. And you can't focus on anything else but your feed and what is feeding you. So when you got the tools, you ain't gonna mind logging in. You're gonna be like, let me go ahead and log in and do another lesson. And each time you do that, you're gonna feel more and more confident that you're able to create a reality that's more in alignment with your heart and what your heart really wants, because you see the discipline. You see each step that you completed. And once you complete the course, I give you a badge. And throughout the entire time, I'm sending you reminders. I'm texting you messages just to encourage you to keep you going. And so this is what I wish I would have had. If I would have had this Y'all, it would have saved me so much money and from making so many negative decisions, some of them that I'm still dealing with today. I don't want y'all to have to go through that. And when you go in a dark night of a soul, but you don't have anybody to walk you through that process, because who the hell know anybody that can actually tell you what to do? Again, it's usually one person from every family. So when you don't know what to do, you're just stuck in a dark night of the soul, feeling depressed, feeling hopeless, nihilistic, and feel like nothing will never change. And you end up stuck in purgatory. And hopefully you don't descend into the realm of hell. And you're physically here, but you're mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually somewhere else where you don't want to be, where you know you're not supposed to be. And we can't communicate with our soul when we're in those realms. The separation from God is separation from your soul. Your soul carries the frequency of the Creator. It's beyond this human conditioning and what you think is right and what you think is wrong and what you judge yourself for. So when you reconnect with that and you got the physical tools, oh, you're going to do the work. You will be inspired to do it. It's not going to feel like work. And you probably find yourself messaging me saying, Cam, that's what people call me that know me, but Camson, thank you for this. Like this is what I was needing. Because I didn't want to make another New Year's resolution that I didn't keep. Because if I don't keep it, now I feel worse. And a lot of us are already going through enough. You know, a lot of us are high functioning autistic. A lot of us are neurodivergent. I mean, the heavy metals alone distort the brain's ability to function a certain way. So we're dealing with, we're wounded warriors. And something has happened to us. And it might be invisible, but it's still there. And I want to validate you and let you know, like, you're not crazy. It's there. Something happened to you. Yes. And on my Patreon, I go into, well, what happened? I go into all the way down to the root of what happened and how we got this way. Well, what happened? I go into all the way down to the root of what happened and how we got this way. I want to do the work. So I hope that somebody, and thank you for joining. Ashe, I see more people coming in. I appreciate y'all. Yeah. So if you just came on, you definitely want to catch the beginning of this. So I'm going to re-upload this. Give me until maybe like tomorrow evening. I'll re-upload this to my YouTube. You can re-watch it. And the link to the website, untamedSouls.com, is also called New Verse Live because that's my other channel. And that's where I basically give you the script for the world and predictions and what's going to happen next. So yeah, so that's the link. You can just click that link. Follow me everywhere I am, y'all. And tap in. Like, let me see who go take themselves seriously and be like, you know what, I'm finna go ahead and do this. Because you got to do something different to get a different outcome. And 2025 is going to be a year where some people are going to be experiencing prosperity and abundance on a new level in every area of life. And other people still going to be stuck in purgatory. But we're also going to see a lot more souls migrate into the hell dimension. And so it will literally be hell on earth for them. But you don't have to live that way. And I just did a decoding on my Patreon, breaking down the heaven and hell dimensions of consciousness within humans, using the 6 subtle bodies and how you can shift yourself in and out through them. So yeah, so that's on there too. All right, y'all. Peace.